This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. I have new respect for what she, her husband, their team does. I never looked at it this way. I see the work that these people do and think, well, that's kind of cool, but have never seen the creativity that goes into taxidermy. We're going to talk about that today, but specifically planning ahead to harvest when you're going into the woods. And also we're going to talk about aftercare and maintenance after you have your piece back from Leyba Creations. Yep, they are located in New Mexico, and she's back with us. Cricket joins us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I've never asked this question. I have to. How'd you get the name Cricket?
My mom, actually. She, ever since before I was born, she wanted to name me Cricket. My real name is Christina, but yeah, I've gone by Cricket my whole life.
And I'm thinking, as a kid, maybe, as a baby, you're trying to say Christina, it comes out like cricket. I don't know. But you're saying before you were born, she was thinking about cricket.
Yep.
No reason why, nothing.
She just loved the name. She had heard it before, and she just loved the name, and she wanted to call me Cricket from the start.
I'll be honest, my legal name is not Steve. It's irrelevant as to what it is. Nothing wrong with it, whatever. I changed it for radio, not to camouflage myself, but when I first started, when I was a kid in radio, they took people from another station, from a station I was working at, to the station I eventually went to. So it was three of us, and they were afraid it would look like they're stealing the staff. So they're like, change your name. So I just closed my eyes and put my finger in a baby book, and it landed on Stefano. Steve's the closest regular name. But my legal name, I have no idea how I got it. Like, I still don't know. I have a twin sister with a similar name, but I still don't, where do you guys come up with that? I don't know. Mom's gone, dad's gone. I'll never know. But anyway, tell us what we should be aware of when somebody is thinking about the harvest, going into the woods. I bet you that's not usually on somebody's mind until they come across an animal that is spectacular. And it's like, you know what, Jimmy, you should have that stuffed. Yeah, all right, let's do that. But it's better not to do that if you can plan ahead. So what should we plan ahead for?
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people, they plan for their hunts, they plan for even processing and getting it home, but they really don't plan for the taxidermy side of it. And, a lot of people, especially when they're hunting out of state, they come here and they're kind of, expecting that more trophy sized animal, and they end up wanting to mount it, and they don't prepare for that. And one thing we tell everybody, call your outfitters. That's super important, and ask them, hey, what are we going to do when we harvest our animal, and what needs to be done, because time is of the essence and temperature is of the essence. Is it going to be hot while you're hunting? Is it going to be cold temperatures? Usually when people are hunting, they plan for it. If while they're hiking, they're, I'm going to be in rough area or hot area or cold area, and they plan according to that, but they don't plan according for their animal. And that's super important for the meat and the longevity of your mount as well. And that's why you're hunting, is for your meat, right? And the mount is even better. So, and your hide can go bad just as quicker than your meat can. Wow. So we tell everybody, hey, talk to your outfitters, let them know, hey, I do want to mount this if it's a certain size or something, or I'm going to mount no matter what. My taxidermist wants it this way. And then you call your taxidermist, or if you're calling us, ask us how you want the cuts done. We have a lot of people that make, even outfitters that really don't understand the certain cuts to make on an animal, because you make the wrong cut, it can ruin your whole mount. We've had a lot of places really cut the briskets out and the armpits, and that's super important on your mount.
Never even thought of that. Like, you could really ruin what you have there if you make a cut
Absolutely.
and the cut is off base.
Yes. Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. It's so important. And we have a lot of people that, they're used to taking their animal directly to their taxiderm, especially around here. But if you're hunting, 5 to 10 miles in a mountain, or you got to know how to properly cape your animal. And it takes a little bit of skill. It's not real hard, but you just got to know what to do. And one little cut in the eyelid or in the tear duct, that affects the quality of your mount. So, planning ahead is so important when it comes to the longevity and the quality of your mount.
You guys are geniuses. You're very creative. How much can you fix something? Let's say somebody makes a cut. Is it, you can fix some things, but not everything?
Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but we can fix a lot of things. We can sew up a lot of things. If it's there, we can fix it usually. Now, if you did a big drag mark, say you don't realize that you shouldn't drag your animal and you pulled it with a four-wheeler or something and it drug all the hair off, it can, some of it we can cut out and fix, but then sometimes we can't. And it just depends on the damages that it makes. But we can fix a lot of things. We can cut out a lot of things and we can sew a lot of things. But, in our shop, we ultimately want quality, and when you cut or drag or have hair loss or anything, that hurts the quality.
Can you recall one of the most challenging, let's call them fixes, that you ever had to do?
Yeah, a big one is cutting the whole eye out. We've had that a few times, and we've had it where they've went hunting with their dad or something, and that hide makes it represents the hunt. And if their dad passed away, for instance, and they want that hide no matter what. We do anything and everything we can, because there's that sentimental value that really is important to them. So we do try to make that work. But like the worst of it is drag marks and cuts out of the face. We've had it where they've brought things in where they've let it sit in a cooler all day where it got hot and they had no ice on it. And, heat is just awful on them, and where the hair just completely comes out. And we had to tell them, hey, there's no way of saving it. And the problem is it creates bacteria within the shop as well. So we want to make sure that it's not transferring from one to the other. So, it's about the whole shop as well.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. You're bringing in live animals. They're not live, but I mean, they were. And I mean, that could compromise your entire facility if there's bacteria or
Yeah.
challenges like that. Wow. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. And, especially if we also take in whole animals after they harvest them, and we do a lot of skinning here. If their animal sat in a truck all day because they wanted to show it off and they didn't realize, hey, that it can go bad. We've had it where we've turned people down and said, hey, you can't bring it in here because we can't even put your meat in our walk-in cooler because it contaminates our other clients' meat. And some people just don't understand how quick it can happen. And like my husband, he's really good at seeing, hey, this isn't good. He can pick up on smells and color, and it's really important how you take care of your animal, from start to finish.
Never hunted before, so help me out with this. You're out in the woods. Let's say it's a little warmer. What do you do? If you're out there and let's say you want to harvest something. How do you? I mean, you can't put an entire elk in a ice filled cooler or chest.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, so, plan for the degrees. So if it's going to be warmer, say even in your 70s or 80s, you want to make sure that when you harvest your animal, you're able to pack it out as soon as possible. If you're not, you want to gut your animal immediately and skin it as quick as possible. And then you have game bags that are usually breathable.
Okay.
And then you want to, if you can't make one trip, because elk, if it's an elk, they're big. They're tough to pack out. So, you may have to hang it in a tree where it's cooler and it's under the shade and where you make a couple of trips back and forth. But you also have to plan for your hide cooling off while not drying out as well. So it's a little tricky.
Hmm. What I'm getting here is if you're thinking, even if there's a possibility of having something mounted, you got to be thinking ahead,
Absolutely.
and one doesn't know what they're going to get when they're in the woods. You could come up completely empty, but I'm thinking that it's got to be on your radar. Plan ahead, bring those bags, whatever it might be, just in case if your goal is, well, one of these days when I score the one, that's what I want to do with it. You got to be intentional. Yes. I guess what it comes down to.
Absolutely. You'd be surprised how easily it is to not prepare. And I've done it myself. We've gone on a hunt where, we're super busy at our shop and we leave kind of last minute and then we're packing in on horses. And we've had it where, I wasn't 100% prepared, but yet we had a friend with us. And of course, my husband's always prepared things, but I kind of relied on them. And you can't, and after we packed that full elk out, I was like, oh my gosh, you can get complacent and forget how tough it is to really pack these big animals out and be prepared to skin and gut and be clean. And it's you have to kind of make a plan. It really is important.
So let's say you got it. It was mounted. You guys did it. Everything's fantastic. You're loving it. It's in your home. People come over, comment on it. You tell the story behind it and all of that. How do you maintain it? How do you make sure that it stays, amazing for years?
Absolutely. So, we get this question a lot. How do I take care of my mount once I get it? Because it is a leather, leather also dry rots out over time. That's why it's important to use really good glues and, have quality products along the way. That way it lasts forever. And, we tell everybody, hey, dust is your enemy. So we keep your animals dusted. Yeah, because dust creates a dust mite. And that's what eats on your leather is dust mites. And the better quality tan you have is the less likely those dust mites will penetrate and go through your capes. So, and your hides. So we tell everybody, hey, dust them off once a year minimum. Or if you can do it more, try to do it as much as you can, but definitely keep them dust free. And we tell everybody keep moths out of your home. Moths love leather and love mounts, and they will create a bug as well. But ultimately, it's the start that really makes the longevity. And then we tell everybody like the process of going through your mounts every year. So a lot of people touch their mounts. And you don't want to get the oils on your hands and like a bear or a cat, you want to reset that hair, which is super important on the overall look of your animal. So, we go through with every one of our customers and say, hey, make sure to brush it after you blow it off and brush it out and set your hair right, because then that gives you the overall presence of a clean, finished mount.
So moths. The smell of mothballs, not the greatest smell in the world. What can you do to prevent that short of mothballs? Is there anything you can put on the hide or something nearby?
So we actually don't put anything on our mounts when it comes to actually like a bug deterrent, because we believe the tan is what really makes the longevity. But we do recommend a bug bomb in your house, or, some people do a bug killer once a year in your house in general. we tell them do that once a year, or even every other year is fine. I don't do it that often, but we here in New Mexico, we don't have a lot of bugs or moths a whole lot, so we don't have to bug bomb hardly at all. We do our shop about every other year just in case, because you can develop a beetle. But we've got good climate here and stuff. It's not super humid and not a lot of bugs here, so we've got that. But as long as you keep them clean, that's really what you want. Is no dust.
And back for a moment on the dust mites.
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere. I'm going to say they're in your bed. Yeah. You're sleeping with them.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. That's the truth. Yeah.
And we spray your mount as well. We spray your mount with it came out as a horse product, and it's non-oily. It's a great product to spray on your mounts, and it helps deter the dust. Actually, I have a bottle right here. And this stuff is amazing. We sprayed Cowboy Magic on it, and there's absolutely no oils in it. That's what makes the dust not stick to it. And then we blow everything off, and everything gets like 2 or 3 coats of this. And then we tell everybody, hey, whenever you get it home, do it once a year, spray it off, and that'll get your hair super shiny and pretty. And it's a great product to put on your animal.
Oh. What are other maintenance tips that you can give us? Anything else standing out there?
Yeah. So one thing too is we tell people, do not put them in a sunroom. I've had people that have an elk in their in a room that has a ton of windows, and it's super high up, and they got a stove in there, and high heat is really hard on leather. And that can create cracking. So if you can, try not to put it on a window or high heat. That's super important as well, because that creates a cracking and drying out of your leather.
I don't know anybody that would do that without thinking, but in the house that I sold recently, had a sunroom, not even 4 season. So it's not like the most well insulated, but let me tell you, in the summertime, it would get up to like 120 degrees plus. Not even kidding. And I can't imagine what that would do to a hide. Like, break down the glue and everything, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then it's super hard on leather, and that hide. So that's what we tell, if you're going to put it in a sunroom, and we've had it done before. We've had people where they've stuck it outside, but it's under a cover, and they're like, oh, we're just going to stick it out. The elements can still get to it, that humidity change, because we're not humid here, so we don't see it. But a big, huge humidity change can affect your leather as well, and your mounts, just because it absorbs that water, and then it gets super hot, and so it creates a cracking.
Now you have a team working on this. On a given day, how many pieces would you say on average that you might be doing in one day? Or is it we work on 1 or 2, that's it, we make sure they're perfect, on to the next?
Yeah, so we have, again, we've got one elk guy that's our main elk man. And then we've got another young gentleman that works for us, that he's on to exotics and sheep. And then we've got another guy that does bears and deer. And then my husband, he does exotics and cats. So what's nice is usually they start prepping on Fridays. My husband absolutely does not like for anybody to mount on a Friday unless they're coming in over the weekend and continuously going on over everything. So we mount Monday through Thursday, and usually we can get at least a mount a day to 2 mounts, 2 mounts a day kicking out between everyone.
Random question alert. Here we go. You specialize in cats, especially your husband. What if somebody came before you and said their house cat passed and they would like it mounted? What would you do?
Yeah, we've had customers call and ask about that before, and we don't specialize in house pets, and usually smaller house pets are actually freeze dried instead of taxidermied. Um, but usually it's no. And the reason why is because we don't specialize it, and your customers see your cats and your dog, for instance, every single day for, up to 15 years. They know every facial expression, they know every detail of that animal. And when you get something just, and it could still be beautiful, but it's not what they remember exactly. That's what can be a little tricky with them. My husband, he said he would never ever skin somebody's animal. He just couldn't do it, just because it's got that sentimental value, and it would be real tough. But that's one thing we won't do is usually. I I don't say we wouldn't ever do it, but we've never done it before.
Well, thank you for saying that and your
Yeah.
transparency because I'm thinking about it. I have two cats. I love them. I mean, they are,
Yeah.
I can't even tell you. Like, I got one when I walk in the door, he jumps up on the counter and he puts his paws out and he wants a hug. And like, we hug each other and he like kisses me. Like, he drools, but it's
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, and we have animals. We've got horses, we've got dogs, and we love our animals very, very much, and we know everything about them. So we know, like, if we did something like that with ours, like we know we couldn't get it exactly how
That's
that animal is.
That's where I'm going with that. Just what you said. And
Yeah.
then I processed it. Like, what would that be like? And animal in the wild, you're not that connected to it at all.
Yep.
So you would look at
Yeah.
that mounted stuff, the house cat, dog, whatever, and it might sound like a good idea, but in the end, probably not. As you would pass by, I think it would hurt more than it would help. I guess you know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
think so too. I,
Yeah.
I, I really do. Yeah. And I would think of it as even our own, because we know so much about our animals, and to not get it exactly the way you wanted. And that's why a lot of animal or pet taxidermists, I guess you would call them, they actually do them sleeping instead of an action of doing anything, because a sleeping posture doesn't show a lot of facial expression.
Mm.
And that way it's not, you see that animal every day, and it's, you don't say, hey, that's not what this my cat did. It always had its eyebrows up and was bright alert or something,
Yeah, and just that weird connection. It's one thing
Yep.
to see it sleeping and just say,
Yep.
my cat's right.
Yeah.
Rocco's sleeping, but a different where it's awake
Hmm.
but not. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I
We,
got you on that.
I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if we could actually do it.
Yeah, listen, you could do it, but you
That's
probably
right.
wouldn't do it. Wow. Um,
Yes.
again, I've said this before. Your work is amazing. The detail, the creativity, the attention to that detail, right down to a hair. And I really do mean a hair. It's amazing. And I see this in a whole different light in terms of what you do. Best way for somebody to find you if they have questions, maybe they're planning a trip coming up somewhere. How would they connect with you?
Yeah, so go to our website, which is leybacreations.com, and go on there. Our phone numbers are on there. You can call us, text us anytime. You can check out our website, and then we have our Instagram and our Facebook as well. Yeah, call us anytime.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
all the insight. And glad we talked about this today. It's like the practical stuff that we haven't, we've looked at pieces and things like that or habitats, but this kind of puts it all together. And I appreciate that. We'll talk next week.
Okay, sounds
Appreciate
great.
it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Cricket.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.